Moral diplomacy. Woodrow Wilson's attempt to influence the Western Hemisphere. When Woodrow Wilson was elected president in 1912, he did so with a divided nation. Teddy Roosevelt, fresh from safari in Africa, was hoping to be re-elected because he was angry with William Howard Taft, thinking Taft had abandoned Roosevelt's progressive principles. When Roosevelt lost the Republican nomination for president to Taft, he began the Progressive Party, also called the Bull Moose Party, which stole votes from Taft in the general election. Wilson himself was the candidate for a divided Democrat Party, which took 46 votes at their nominating convention before choosing Wilson as their candidate. From a foreign policy point of view, Wilson's beliefs would represent a drastic shift from his predecessors. He was a devout Christian and believed that democracy was the best way for nations to follow. He advocated for human rights and that nations should determine their own path. Unfortunately, Wilson's actions did not live up to his words. While he did believe that nations should determine their own path, he occasionally used military intervention to influence their policies and make sure that they were continuing to follow those democratic principles. This was shown most dramatically in Mexico and the pursuit of the revolutionary leader Pancho Villa. For years previous to Wilson's election, Villa had been openly supported by the United States in his quest to run Mexico. He had been named governor of Chihuahua in 1913 by the military leaders of the region and used this position to gain enough support to try and take over the presidency of the country. Wilson made the decision to support the elected president, Venustiano Carranza, and stopped all weapons shipments to Villa and allowed Mexican troops that were looking for him to be moved by U.S. railroads. For a couple of different reasons, one, anger at being betrayed by the U.S. government, and second, a desperate need for supplies, Villa launched an attack at Columbus, New Mexico in March 1916. Wilson was forced to send 5,000 troops under the leadership of John J. Blackjack Pershing to chase down Villa and capture him. The people of Mexico, while not necessarily supportive of Villa, were more angry with the presence of United States troops on their soil, and this was part of the reason why Villa was never captured. The other big part of the reason was the recall of Pershing and his troops so they could be sent to Europe to fight in World War I. Overall, Wilson's idea of moral diplomacy was a failure because it forced other nations to accept and take on the United States way of life, as opposed to simply taking its money under dollar diplomacy,